Hello everyone, welcome to Stocker Team. Welcome to Stocker Team, the investors channel. On today's episode, we'll be looking at the upcoming third quarter result to be delivered and reported by Palantir. PLTR, ticker symbol PLTR. Palantir Technologies, of course, is the largest stock on our portfolio at stockerteam.com. Before we go into this episode, I would like to also inform you that this episode is proudly presented by stockerteam.com, the website for retail investors to get coaching, guidance, insight on how to build strong and sustainable portfolio. So check out stockerteam.com today for you to actually learn how you can be a member or even get so much more insight on how to improve your portfolio. So this episode will be looking at Palantir's third quarter result. Without further ado, let's jump right in. So the third quarter result for Palantir is going to be one of the most anticipated because there's so much chatter about this company. Since the second quarter results showed that Palantir now makes roughly about $1 billion every quarter in revenue. Analysts, investors, shareholders, and critics about this company will actually want to see whether this company can keep up with the momentum that it actually finished with for the second quarter. So for this third quarter result that will be released on the 3rd of November 2025 after closing bell on Wall Street, which is about 5 p.m. Eastern. Wall Street consensus is actually looking that Palantir should be delivering about 10 cents to 12 cents earnings per share, and the revenue should be about $1.08 billion. In the last second quarter, which is the second quarter result, Palantir actually delivered about 48% year-on-year revenue growth, and the company guided for this third quarter that we're coming into, guided for about 50% year-on-year growth, which is about 2% more than what the company did last quarter. Is Palantir likely to beat this estimate? Does the company has what it takes to actually make sure that it is beating estimate on Wall Street? There's so much that has been built into Palantir's result, a whole lot of optimism. In fact, critics of Palantir actually says that this company is priced to perfection, valued at roughly about over $400 billion, with about $1 billion in revenue as a last quarter for the first time. Is Palantir able to meet this price to perfection or high expectation? Let's see what exactly Palantir has done. And being a Palantir shareholders ourselves, one of the Palantir shareholders, we invested in Palantir as far back as 4 to 5 years ago. We've actually seen the ups and downs, but we actually believe that this second quarter will deliver much more better than we expected. But let's look at what Palantir has done for the third quarter. So in terms of deals, in terms of contract, in terms of a whole lot of partnerships, in total, Palantir has netted about $14 billion in deal numbers in total. If you look at the beginning of third quarter to the end of third quarter, I'm going to be listing a few of them so that we have an idea of what exactly we are looking into. Of course, most of these deals do not necessarily show up in the revenue of the company. Maybe after 6 months, 1 year, or even 2 years, depending on the kind of contract, the investments, the plannings, and so many things that the company has actually needs to do before they can actually recognize these deals as revenue. So Palantir has a different approach. So compared to the likes of Salesforce, that sometimes some of those softwares are just plug and play, Palantir doesn't necessarily work that way. Palantir software actually has to be more or less customized, more or less actually orchestrated to fit into the use case. But in the third quarter, we saw one of the biggest deals ever, where the US Army actually gave Palantir a 10-year enterprise agreement, which will see Palantir actually getting up to $10 billion in total contract for Palantir to actually deliver modernized battlefield analytics and operation. The second most biggest deal that Palantir signed between that period in the third quarter was the UK Ministry of Defense partnership, which was roughly about $1.5 billion, 1.5 billion pounds, which is roughly about $1.9 billion. Palantir is going to be building its UK, the European headquarters in the UK. Palantir will also be investing roughly about another 1 billion actually to actually make London its headquarters for its AI research and also enterprise business, which is a big deal for Palantir with the UK, meaning the UK has actually seen more value in Palantir. I'm going to be going to the third one, which is quite recent, which is a few days ago. Lumen Technologies actually signed about 200 million plus partnership for Palantir's artificial intelligence platform to actually be embedded into the Lumen's fiber network to actually scale enterprise analytics. So Lumen, a network and telecommunication business company, very big, massive operation in the US. They have a bigger ambition to actually support the AI data center and network infrastructure. So Lumen is saying that with Palantir's AIP, they are able to actually improve how they transmit data, improve how they actually use their own data at the enterprise level to actually support the build out and the super cycle of the AI ecosystem, especially the expansion of data centers across the US, across different parts of the US mainland. Lear Corporation, yes, also signed an expanded deal with Palantir, and that was actually, explained and disclosed during the last AIP conference, which also, is seeing Palantir to be very serious when it comes to enterprise. Another one which I'll also mention is the Boeing collaboration. Yes, so Palantir, just as a primer, Palantir had a multi-year contract and partnership with Airbus, which is the biggest and the one and only competitor to Boeing. And for so many years, Palantir built a platform called Skywise, which end-to-end manages Airbus's manufacturing, logistics, and so many data points that Boeing needs to actually build quality, safe, and secure aerospace design, manufacturing, and the production line. But Boeing now is coming on board for the first time ever, and that will actually be a game changer for Palantir, meaning the two of the biggest, of the largest, the two duopolies for the aviation, whether defense and civil commercial aviation manufacturers, are now working with Palantir. One last deal that I wouldn't actually not mention is Snowflake. So for so many years, Snowflake was actually seen as a competitor to Palantir, but that competition didn't actually really work out well for Snowflakes, because at the end of the day, Snowflakes ended up not actually beating Palantir to the game. Snowflake's stock, the stock of the company actually suffered for several years, up until a few quarters ago, when the stock actually broke even, and whoever has invested in Snowflake since the company listed in 2021 must actually they've not necessarily made any big gain if they have not sold their stock. So these are some of the biggest deals that Palantir has actually disclosed, and these are public deals. There are so many other deals that Palantir doesn't necessarily disclose for confidentiality and for some other reasons, which we will not be able to have access to. Although some analysts on Wall Street actually see that kind of business model where you can't necessarily disclose everything as a negative for Palantir. For me, I don't necessarily see that as a negative, because this company does so many other things beyond the commercial side of things, beyond even defense, a whole lot of the security and strategy to actually provide much more support to law enforcement agencies, to state actors who actually need to protect their citizens and the security of their digital infrastructure. They work with Palantir, and more or less, making everything public will actually jeopardize the intent and the spirit of what exactly Palantir is bringing to the table. So we will be going to the charts to actually see what exactly is going on or has been going on since Palantir delivered the record $1 billion in revenue in the second quarter. How is this going to actually contribute to seeing Palantir going higher and higher in terms of valuation? After or before the earnings is being disclosed, do we see the stock pulling back heavily? Do we see the stock actually going higher aggressively? Let's check the charts, and we'll actually close on that. And we will actually, as a bonus, if you have watched this video to this point, as a bonus, we'll actually be telling you about our own projection when it comes to price targets during and after the result is due to be released. So let's look at the chart now. So as you can see, you can actually see that in the last 6 months, Palantir has actually moved up by about 63%, which is quite remarkable given the fact that a whole lot of the companies in the AI ecosystem, data analytics ecosystem, especially the established ones, they've done below this figure. Year to date, Palantir has actually done about 146%. So between January and now, Palantir was actually roughly trading for something as less than $70 at the beginning of the year, and you could actually see that between that time and now, the stock actually closed yesterday with about $184 63 per share. Now, if you actually go back to the 6-month chart, you could actually see that immediately Palantir released the result. This was the period when we were waiting for the result. Immediately the result was released, you could actually see the jump, and the stock really has gained more than 30% since that time. All time, if you go back to the all-time chart, you could actually see that the peak for this stock, we are actually nearing the peak in terms of the total price, which is the highest price rather. $190 is actually the highest price ever. Now, are we going to be seeing Palantir getting into the $200 per share as soon as this result is released? It's a combination of several things. Number one, if Palantir actually beats the Wall Street estimate that I've mentioned before, we could actually see the stock trading for about $200. Yes, that might actually be a big stretch, but Palantir has never been valued based on the actual immediate or short-term fundamentals or exactly what investors are saying. This stock was added to the S&P 500, and between that time and now, it's gained more than 70%. Just because of the S&P 500, inclusion, because several investment funds, fund managers, a whole lot of pension funds who actually track the S&P 500, they had to actually rebalance their portfolio to accommodate Palantir, which is going to be a major factor. Some of these funds haven't necessarily, perhaps, finished rebalancing their portfolio to actually reflect Palantir in terms of the actual weighting the stock should actually have. So if we see Palantir breaking that record in terms of beating the estimate in terms of revenue, either on the top, bottom line, or both, we could actually see the stock going to about $200 per share. If Palantir just meets the estimate, we could actually see the stock pulling back in the short term. So what do I mean? the consensus or the sentiment is that Palantir is already priced to perfection. The stock is already at this maximum near-term or short-term valuation, so or even beyond. So if Palantir is just meeting estimates, we could actually see a pullback at least in the first few weeks, and we could see a consolidation from there. The pullback could actually see the stock trading for about $150 per share. That's the worst case scenario. But even at that, you don't necessarily have to predict what happens in the market. You don't necessarily have to always act as if you are a clairvoyant or you are a sight. You actually want to see the future. You want to actually build a portfolio based on strategy, based on research, based on actual insights and data points that you can actually build your approach to actually invest. And that's why we said, at stockacting.com, we want to actually give investors the coaching, the guidance they actually need. I'll go into that. What exactly does stockacting.com has to offer you as a retail investor in terms of giving you much more insight. So as a retail investor, you want to get access to real-time news, market-moving news that can actually give you all the insights and ideas that you actually need to learn more, build your portfolio, tweak your strategy. We also offer what we call the daily brief, which is perhaps one of the most important part of what we do at stockacting.com. You get much more insight on how you can actually build your portfolio, how you can strategize, how you can pick stocks, do more research, do your own due diligence. No financial advice offer, no guarantees, no actual licensed financial advice. So you still have to do your own due diligence. But when it comes to investment ideas, stock ideas that could actually 10x or even take your portfolio to the next level from the first 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, you can actually join and see how you can become a member. So that's exactly everything we have to discuss about Palantir. So what do you think? Are you a Palantir investor or shareholder? Are you looking to buy the stock towards the third quarter results that will be released? Do you actually not necessarily believe in this company? Is this a company you want to invest in or you don't want to invest in? Of course, Palantir is really priced to premium, and there is actually very limited space for error. But we'll be bringing you this result. We'll be bringing you and everything you actually need to know as a Palantir shareholder. We will be reviewing the results. We'll give you more updates. That's everything we have to say on this episode. Proudly brought to you by stockacting.com, the website, the platform for retail investors to get insight and build a strong and sustainable portfolio. We'll see you in the next one. Take care and bye-bye.